This is under trigonometry. So here you are going to discuss the idea or how to solve a trigonometric equation. Right? If you don't know what exactly we apply the trigonometries on in the real life, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Check out our playlist for more concepts on this thing. But let's see how to solve this simple question. So before we dive into the solutions of solving this problem, you have to know exactly the concept behind what this idea. Now, if you are saying that the ages of maybe let's say two people, right? Maybe you watching me, right? Assuming that you are 15 years old, and then you have the age of maybe your younger brother here. So this is the portions of your younger brother, right? Or maybe your elderly sister or whoever. So if you sum both of you your age, you are going to have 35 years. So what it means here is that you have to determine the age of this person who is missing at this point, right? So of course, this is a very simple one. So here will be 20 years old, right? So whoever will be here will be what? 20 years old. So that should be what? 20, right? So 20 years old, that will be what? 35. Is that okay? So mathematically, what we are going to determine in the trigonometric here is that we want to determine the values of this x. So that guy who is missing at this portion here, we want to determine that. So that if you multiply this 5 by the cost of everything in this bracket here, minus 1 should be equal to 0. Right? So that is the idea behind finding the values of the x, whereby our x here, in the other way, the age of that person should be between what? 0. That is the condition from the question, right? So 0 degrees, that is less than s, and then less than equal to what? 90 degrees. So that person cannot go beyond what? 90 years for understanding purpose. So of course you can never be less than 0 years, right? So in terms of the degree, and that is what somewhere by the value of the x should be greater or equal to 0 degrees, and then less than or equal to 90 degrees. Now let's see how to solve the equation. So the best way of tackling this problem is that you see this guy is somewhere alone, right? So just like the way you solve the normal mathematics or maybe algebraic expression, let's say s plus 1 that is equal to 2. You want to determine the values of x. So you want to determine the number that if you add 1 to that, that should give you a result 2, right? So maybe obviously that should be 1. But how do you solve that? You have to subtract 1 from what? From both sides of the equation so that this guy will vanish, right? So here you have s to be equal to what? 1. That is how you solve that. Now, in terms of the trigonometry, what we are going to do here is the same approach. So we are going to use the same idea here. So here we are going to add, because of this 1 here, we are going to add 1 to the both side of the equation. Or maybe in some cases, maybe you can take this one to the other side of the equation. But the best way of doing that is to add 1 to the both side of the equation. So that will give us 5 cos the x here, and then plus 8.5 degrees, and then minus 1 plus let me use a different marker here. So plus 1, right? So you can see plus 1, everything is going to be equal to 0 plus 1, right? So 0 plus 1 plus 1. Are you there? That's very, very simple. So 0 plus 1. Is that okay? Why are we doing that? Because we want this guy to vanish. Because we want the x, we want to determine the values of the guy here, so that if you perform this operation, we are going to have a 0 at the end. So here we are going to have 5 for cos of x plus 8.5. So this guy will vanish, right? So this guy will vanish. So that will be equal to 0 plus 1. That should be 1. Are you there? Okay, now here the next line is to divide both sides by 5, because there's a 5 attaching to the cos sign, right? So you have cos of s plus 8.5, right? 8.5 degrees, that is equal to 1 over 5, right? So over 5. Because there's a 5 here divided by 5, so this 5 will cancel out. Can you see? So this guy will cancel out. So you have we are going to have cos of s plus 8.5, that is equal to 1 over 5, right? Which is equal to 0.2, right? So this is 0.2. Okay, 1 over 5, that's 0.2. Okay, now remember there's a cos here. We just will make sure that this guy, everything that is attached to the x will vanish, right? So now we got to the 10 over this cos here. So how can we get this cos to vanish? So you have to take the cos inverse of this one. That will help us to eliminate this cos here. So taking cos inverse of this cos will vanish, right? So cos inverse of that, we are going to leave it s plus 8.5. That is equal to whatever you do. You have to do the same thing on the right hand side of the equation. But so here we are going to have cos inverse of 1 over. That should be 0.2, maybe, or 1 over 2, or maybe in decimal term that should be 0.2, right? Okay, now this is very easy to do. Now that we got to the point, we can take off the bracket here. So we are going to have s plus 8.5. That is equal to cos inverse of 0.2, right? So here we can take we can subtract 8.5 from both sides of the equation. So you are having s plus 8.5, that is equal to cos inverse of 0.2 minus 8.5, right? So here minus 8.5, here also has to be minus 8.5, right there. So let me clean this and write it clearly. Okay, so subtracting 8.5 from both sides of the equation, so you can see that this one will cancel that, right? So this guy will cancel. If you enjoyed the video so far, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up, comment down below if you have any issues, right? So this one and this one vanishes. So if they vanish, we are left with x, that is equal to, so taking the cos inverse of 0.2, that should be somewhere 78.46, right? So that's what I'm having here. So 78.46 and then minus 8.5. Is that okay? So minus 8.5. So we are going to have something like our x, that will be equal to, would that be 69.96, right? So 69.96. So if you have any issue with this thing, don't forget to comment in the comment section. So remember, the question says that write to the nearest degree, right? So taking this thing to the nearest degree, we are going to have that should be 70, right? So 70 degrees. So we have our x, the values of the s should be 70. Of course, that's exactly what the question is asking us to find, because we don't want whereby the situation whereby the one that we are looking for, which is the x, so that guy, so this stubborn guy here, who is the x here, should be more than what? Should be more than 90 degrees. Of course, it can never be more than 90 degrees, and it can never be less than 0 degrees. So what we had at the end here, that is 70 degrees. Right? So 70, that is exactly what the question is asking. So to find. So this, we have more questions and more details on the platform. So don't forget once again to subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up if you have any issue on this.